Welcome back to another episode of the Sweet Shots podcast. Lucas Johnson alongside Chuck Johnson today. And joining us from, would you say roughly halfway across the world?
I would think so.
Roughly halfway across the world. 8 hours, 7 hours away. Mark Johnson on the line, calling from, I believe you're in France now, right? You were in Rome, now you're in France.
France.
That's right. Yeah. Hello from Europe. They've turned to me. I'm staking claim now to hanging in Europe after that Ryder Cup. It was a changing event, life-changing event, and I'm after that display. I'm just kind of embedding in Europe. Back to the States when things settle down a little bit. You got a little raucous over there.
Yeah,
it looked like it.
I mean, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, today's show is all about the Ryder Cup. We're going to break it down. You know, we've been teasing it for a while. We had boots on the ground there the last couple of days, and we've got some firsthand knowledge of some of the drama that went on, and we'll break down kind of what our thoughts are anyway on what transpired on. I'll say it, an all around disappointing showing at the Ryder Cup, especially for kind of the hopes that we had. But Mark, you were in Rome for a couple days beforehand. I know there's some pictures floating around enjoying some Italian wine and really immersing yourself in that culture. Were you like actively like, hey, I'm rooting for the U.S. here right now, like cut off flag T-shirt and jeans, red, white, and blue all over?
Did you carve USA in the side of your head? I mean, talk us through this?
Yeah, well, we did do a couple days of Rome, Vatican, and everything that's in Rome prior to, and I was nothing USA on at that time. Not that I was proud to be a U.S. citizen, but it wasn't appropriate. And that sometimes, to touch on, when you have an event like the Ryder Cup in a metropolitan area like Rome, I don't. The majority of people, not even majority, I mean, like 98% of Rome did not know the Ryder Cup was going on. I guarantee you that. So it's kind of lost in the enormity of Rome. But so we did some great sightseeing before we went out there. From where we were staying, it took us probably about an hour and a half to get out to the golf course. There was no on-site parking as advertised, so we took the Metropolitan train out to the suburbs, and then there was a bus that they shuttled everyone into the event. It was bigger than Hazeltine, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah. Either an opener PGA or the Ryder Cup at Hazeltine. This was enormous, and I don't know what it looked like on TV, but it was. I don't know how many did they announce how many people were there.
I did not catch it if they did.
I'm telling you, there were 25,000 people just on the first tee, you might guess. So it was huge, but they handled traffic very well. There was no congestion. It was just ways out of town to get there. But with the Ryder Cup, so many are a lack of different groups playing. There's sometimes only 4 groups on the golf course, and there's probably 50,000, 60,000 people out there. It was really hard to watch and get live action.
Yeah.
So we would leapfrog maybe 3, 4, 5 holes with the hope to see what was going on. And we did not go out the first day, and what a buzzkill that first day. And I have to tell you guys, and we'll get into it maybe here a little bit, and it's always hindsight, Monday morning quarterbacking, but how do you not have Speed, JT, and Brooks playing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I think we exchanged some texts on that too.
We did.
I was shocked to see that. You got major winners, and arguably in Brooksy, the most intimidating golfer out there, the guy that is going to set a tone, and he's on the bench.
Yeah, you got Brooks is on the bench for the first. I mean, not only Brooks, but I mean Spieth. You got guys you want out there that are at least leading in emotion, whether or not you can argue they're the state their game is in.
Yep.
But without getting too into it right now. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
That's my point with this. When they weren't involved from the start, Thomas, Spieth, and Koepka, in my opinion. Now, Fowler, I heard he was sick. So, okay, I'll give you that. But when those guys weren't involved from the start, it's hard to get them going. They're professionals, so they did what they did to do. But I think I saw a stat like that. His captain's picks, Morikawa through Fowler, those guys went 4, 12, and 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just a big mistake not having the guys. Again, I go back to the question: who, if you're the Euros, who don't you want to play?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't want to play Fowler. Definitely don't want to play Koepka. And Thomas is kind of like Arian Poulter to those guys, and it's like you got to put those guys out there early, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and we're going to and that's kind of the tag, at least today. I want to get into your guys' top performers, worst performers, and maybe some coaching decisions that, being a couch quarterback here, a couch coach, what we might have done differently. And we can get into that a little bit. But, Mark, I want to flush out your Ryder Cup experience a little more because you touched on it is a vastly different experience to, like, say, if you've been to a 3M or you've been to a Waste Management, you just don't get a guarantee of watching these guys, not only because of the massive crowds, but then on top of that, you've got just the tremendous variable of maybe it's a blowout and they don't even get to hole 13 or whatever.
Well,
right?
yeah, right. In this case, if you camped out on 17 or 16 in hopes to see some shots,
Half of these matches didn't even get there.
Yeah, didn't get to see anything.
So I don't know what was your
didn't get there.
What was your plan, Mark?
9 and 9 and 7?
Yeah.
Did Scheffler? So we saw them on the 10th hole, and they were they looked like they were shell shocked, like they just got done with D-Day or something. I mean they unbelievable.
Yep,
that's quite a reference there, but that's 9 and 7. Victor Hovland, Ludwig Oberg. I learned that it's not Aberg anymore; it's Oberg.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, Ludwig Oberg.
The A makes an actual O.
Well, it's got a little
Okay. Interesting
Scandinavian circle on there.
that.
But I will say, Victor Hovland was a problem from hole 1 on on Friday morning. I stayed up to watch that, and a ton of people, like you said, Mark, just crazy home field advantage. And then on top of that, Victor Hovland takes his wedge from the putting green at like 45 feet away and holes it out.
Yeah.
And I watched that live and I go, that is not a good sign.
I don't know
Not
if there's
a
a
good
better
sign.
player on earth right now.
He's hot. They made everything.
Yeah, they did. Just
Everything.
classic Europe.
They did. Well, didn't Rahm chip in 3 times?
Yes.
that first
Yes.
day?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Can't make it up.
And of course, that guy is just, he's a walking match, right? Like he just lights fuses.
Yep.
And, when that guy gets going, you can't stop him. Same with Rory McIlroy. And then, of course, Victor Hovland's hotter than anybody on the planet
Best
right now.
player
In
right
terms
now.
Of, and then, you've got another firecracker in Shane Lowry. These guys, looking at just that the first morning score, and it's just all blue, and it's just too bad. So that's probably a good day for you to
Not be
miss there. Yeah.
To not be there, exactly. So, when we got on property Saturday, we basically walked the golf course. It's hilly. It's hillier than Augusta, if you can imagine it. The hills are more
Is it really?
And it is gorgeous. That golf course was fantastic. It presented itself very well. The rough, I took some pictures of the rough. The rough is nothing to mess with. I'm sure that played out that way on TV. Although it was spotty, if it had been trampled down, they might have had a chance, but they were catching flyers. They didn't know what the ball was doing out of that stuff. So if you kept it in the fairway, you're going to play well. And it was hot. As a spectator, they had free water everywhere, just trying to keep people hydrated. And of course, the Euros are drinking cases of beer. They were going up to the concession stand buying a case of beer in cans, and it wasn't cold, and it didn't matter. They were just drinking warm beer, which I think they're used to over here. I don't quite understand that.
Yeah, my experience, there's no refrigeration over there.
Yeah, they would buy it, and they would just bring it back to where they're standing, and they would just keep knocking off one warm beer after another.
Here's my question: What's the price of a beer over there? We all know, like in America, it's highway robbery for an event beer,
right?
Unless
you're at Augusta.
Yeah.
Unless you're at Augusta, what's the price?
It was €9 So, I don't know what that is, $9.50, $9.60 a beer, US dollars. It was
Okay.
that was a tap beer.
And what's
So
the flavor of
it
beer?
wasn't cheap.
What kind of beer are you getting over there? They got the normal light beers, or
Yeah.
is this a German
Yeah,
Euro
I don't know,
beer?
it's some Italian beer.
Okay.
And it's only 8 or 10 ounces. It's a small beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a
So, but
Peroni.
it's tasty. It's tasty beer. It's
Sure.
fine.
Okay.
Sandwiches for €20, €20. So it was overpriced.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was definitely overpriced for what you were getting. But the gift shop was huge. It was literally a football field,
Wow.
golf shop, merchandise tent, and things were $128 for a vest. So I'm gonna wait and see if I can find something online after the fact.
That's a typical. That's such a you move. It's so funny having grown up with you. That is such a. You're literally there. I don't know if I'm going over there. I'm budgeting for. I'm going to get something there.
Yeah,
and
we've been in the spot with them.
Yeah,
LJ.
You're thinking Wolf Creek because that's where my head goes.
Yep.
And I totally remember. Why are you getting that? I think I can get you something cheaper there. It's like I'm here now. I can get it right now.
Yeah. Anyway, that's classic.
I got a nice flag that's going to go on the bar at Sweet Shots.
Oh, good.
Ryder Cup.
Love it.
We'll get that signed by somebody
to commemorate our
awesome
tough loss and
brutal
Rome. No, but that's that's just goes to show. So the golf course itself, hillier than Augusta. That's interesting. And on top of that, kind of what we thought in terms of setup, in that you had to be driving the ball well. Is that right?
Yeah, I agree. And those guys, there were holes where you didn't need to hit driver. We sat on the 8th hole both days, the end of day Saturday for us, and then Sunday we spent the majority of our time where the 8th hole approach shot. They were hitting their approach shots. We could see where they drove the ball, and then we were up by the green. And the USA fared quite well. The Euros were in the right rough more times than not on that hole, and it's a long, long par 4. That's where Lowry made that birdie and got really pumped up. That was like maybe the second big birdie he made that day on his comeback on Sunday. But we had over 30,000 steps in on Saturday, and we did about half that on Sunday, just because it was a big test.
Yeah,
so,
that's
but hats off. I mean, the golf course was fantastic. They did a great job with the patrons for as many people as there were out there. Things were overpriced, but you're at one of the biggest sporting events in the world. I get it. It was a great experience, but it's a tough tournament to watch in person. Yeah. It's just, you got to be patient. You got to go set yourself down and just stay there. They did have the large video monitor boards. With the earpieces, you could do that. I listened to Ryder Cup radio on their app. They had an app, but it was Euro bias, so it was nauseating to listen to. It was really hard to listen to, but they did have adequate coverage for you while you're out there watching it.
Well, and I wonder, and this is another thing we can get into, at least for Chuck and I, but I wonder if that viewing experience, being there and listening to it on the video, was better than the coverage that we got stateside. Because I tell you what, it was like every, I don't know what it was, 7 minutes.
They were either 5 minutes.
5 minutes. They were either doing that dumb playing through, or they just cut right to commercial. And it's like, you have 8 balls, or not even 16 balls
in
play on foursomes and 4-ball. Somebody's got to be hitting a shot.
Yep.
Show it. What's the harm in showing that shot? I think what was it, the Friday afternoon 4-ball or some, like, they didn't even show Max Homa.
No.
Like, at all.
And that's the point I was going to make. Never saw the Homa Harmon deal. I was like,
never.
What?
And they were like our stars. We can get into that. But like, I mean, the coverage was just abysmal. I think they went to playing through right as Victor Hovland hit a shot. He made contact. It swiped across the screen, playing through, and then it cut to a ball tracer where it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be a way that you can figure out some sort of funding where it's just like, okay, and at least in an event like this,
Yes.
You can just have commercial free coverage.
Well, like the Masters does.
Or like
used
the
to,
Masters
right?
does.
Right. Where it's sponsored by Cadillac and it allows for you not to have these breaks. But anyway.
Yeah. No, the coverage here, Mark, was not much better than sitting and camping and waiting and hoping that they make it to you. Because, like I said, they didn't even show Max Homa and Brian Harmon half the time. So, but such is corporate golf, I suppose.
That's where we're at.
But I tell you what, guys, let's get into it. Let's break it down here. Obviously, the Europeans take it home. The 16.5 to 11.5 ran away with it Friday morning. Just stomped on it 4-0 in the morning, which I think is one of the first sweeps the U.S. has where they haven't won a point that first day. And then even in Friday, I mean, all we could muster out of there was 3 ties.
Yep.
So the first day was just abysmal. Tough to watch. And I would say
6.5 to 1.5, right? After day one.
And
that's a tough hill to climb.
We've got the scores up here, Mark, and for what you will, being in Rome, I don't know what you heard from the first day, but I mean, if you look at the scores, Europe won just about every closing hole. I mean, they destroyed us in 18.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tied, but we had leads going into the end of these matches on Friday, and we just blew it.
Yep.
Blew it.
That's right. There's 3 points left off
on that first day. Now,
swing.
I kind of attribute this, and we touched a little bit on it before we started, but the differences in the practice schedules that these teams had. Mm-hmm. Europe was over there. They played in both Italian Opens that were hosted at this venue. They played weeks leading up to this. They played the week before. I think Luke Donald had them all playing in the BMW Championship. Contrast that to the Americans. 5 weeks off. Nobody played the Italian Opens. Nobody came over. You had 9 of the 12 guys come and play a practice round before the week of. So I don't know what they did that 2 weeks before or something like that. And 3 guys stayed home. Jordan Spieth, I think, was expecting a baby. So for what that's worth, that's okay. And then I would guess that I think it was Cantlay and Schauffele were the other ones to not go, and both cited personal reasons. And I think as we're learning, there might have been some disputes over money that kept them back, or at least over the agreement that kept them back, which to me is just absurd when it comes to something like this, that you let that get in the way.
Right.
But there again, opting not to play. I don't know what you guys think as far as preparation for this, but you're going over to Rome. I think I saw somewhere they had a great point. Arguably the toughest away game to play in all of sports, and you're not going to play your sport for 5 weeks beforehand, at least competitively. I don't know about that personally.
Sure. Well, I think it's evident in how they came out on the gate. I was just going to say shaking off rust, day one
was brutal, all rust.
Yep. To me, and that's probably comes a lack of preparation maybe, or not being in that environment in competitive rounds in so many weeks.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I think it's competitive stuff. Mark, I don't know what your thoughts on that is. Or?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to have your chili hot going in right away Friday morning. And the Euros did. And you can't just show up and play. And, Luke Donald switched the format. Usually it's best ball in the morning. And he went alternate shot. And things happen fast and furious in our alternate shot. You're playing a lot faster. And I think, they just put their foot down on the pedal just right away. And the weeks leading up to that, I think put them in a position to do that. Yep. And then combine, yes, we didn't practice, we didn't prepare as a team the way they did. And then you factor in, now we made some poor decisions as we look back on pairings. And, these things are adding up all of a sudden to be a whitewash, a 4-0 whitewash in the morning. And you can look back and go, maybe I should have had some different guys play. Maybe I should have had guys over here. But we're soft. The American guys are soft. They've got too much money. They're playing for too much money. This deal with Schauffele, I read a quote about what his dad was talking about. You know what? If you don't get it, if you don't see what this is about, patriotism, playing for your country, playing for your teammates, then you know what? forget it. You don't need to be there. And I think that was an underlying that was going on. These guys were not together, and it showed.
I think historically, in just about any sport, I mean, we can all say that we're patriot, whatever, but I really do. You look at the U.S. basketball team recently when they went and played their World Cup. You look at the soccer team. You look at. I just don't think we have the same level of I'm playing for my country and pride in our country to go represent. I mean, it's still whether it's about money. And look, these guys aren't getting like completely shafted with pro bono work, right? It's not like, hey, you're playing for free and they're going to work them to the bone. I mean, they've got clothing coming their way. They've got all expenses paid for them and their spouses are a +1.
Right.
They've got food covered. They've got, and look, they don't really need the money, honestly. So yeah, take a little pride in playing. And I think some of them do.
Right. That's what I was going to say, LJ. I think when you look at Scotty Chef and a Max Homa, I mean, you saw the emotion on Scheffler's face after he got beat, and it matters to some of these guys. But it's unfortunate to hear a Xander that's true. I hope they look long and hard for Beth Page in 2 years and get the right guys there.
Well, and then again, you look on the other side of the aisle. You've got the Europeans, and they're all from different countries, and it seems like they've got more pride in their team than a group of guys that are all coming from the same country with those same values. And so it's just really interesting how well the European side gelled. And you could see it the first tee, the pictures on the one that jumps to mind would be Xander and who was it? Was it the first day when it was Colin? They were standing far away. I'm going to find it, but it was John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton were playing.
Okay.
And it must have been Saturday. It was Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele against John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. And Patrick and Xander were standing like 2 feet apart, doing their own thing, just kind of like maybe zoned in, but kind of like, why am I here? And John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton had their arms around each other, pumping up the crowd and having a good time. I mean, like stuff like that where, maybe it doesn't look, at least optically, maybe they were concentrating, but I don't know. It goes to just how close that European team is on that side. And that goes a long way, especially when you look at this format of play.
Yep.
When it's all about momentum.
Well said.
And I'll put it this way too. The way that I look at it, and I bleed red, white, and blue, American all the way. But you look at these teams and you start to walk through the list, right? Of who would I like to have a beer with? Right? I mean, like, who am I going to, like Mark, he's got the opportunity. He's there. Mark, who are you going to go have a beer with right now? Are you going to go out there with Xander and Patrick?
Not a chance.
And you could, Brooks would be great. Max Homa would be great. Brian Harmon, I'm going to talk about him later. But I don't know. Some of these guys on the U.S. team, they just seem like stuck-up country club kids,
Right.
Ooh. And
Mark, you okay? You getting arrested there in France?
Yeah, geez. French police are calling over there.
Yeah, I just got called to dinner. My brother-in-law came out and rang the dinner bell.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. What's for dinner? What are we having?
We went. The Outlaws, all the siblings cooked for everyone last night and made a great meal. And tonight, the Outlaws, we made tacos.
Tacos in France. Love
tacos in France. Surprisingly, at a French market, we could get the ingredients for tacos.
I am surprised.
There you go. It's a world-renowned food. But okay, Mark, if you're gonna, so back to my point, not to change too quickly here, but I look at this European team and the amount of guys that I would like to sit down and have a beer with. Like, I just feel like the vibes would be immaculate with the guys like Shane Lowry, Victor Hovland. I think Tyrrell would just be an absolute crack to go out with. I think John Rahm. I mean, these guys, they look like they were there to have a great time, represent their respective countries and continent. And to be fair, it's a home game for them, so they're going to be jacked up. But I don't know. The U.S. just seemed a little stuck up and tight, and overthinking it over much. And that's going to happen when you don't have any practice. You're just not. You're rusty. You're focusing on your game. I mean, geez, oh my gosh, Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler was getting a putting lesson like 2 days before the Ryder Cup. Mark, in your expert opinion, how often does that help?
Well, he's in a position where he probably wasn't going to hurt.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
that's been a bugaboo of his, anyways. So,
yeah.
No, we could beat it to death, but I think it was from the top down. I think Zach Johnson lacks some of the skill set needed to be a leader with these guys. I think he still thinks himself as a player. He tried to play enough to even maybe be on the team initially in year one. It was just a bad fit. I mean, if we really want to win this thing, find a captain, whoever our captain was last time. Let him keep captaining until he doesn't want to.
I agree.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Forget
Stricker.
the ceremonial. Let's give this guy captain because he played well in a couple majors 10 years ago.
Right.
Or isn't it that important to us? It seems like right now it's not that important.
It's a good point, Mark. Maybe it's more important to us as fans than it is to these players. I mean, not for all of them, but it seemed like a few of them, it just wasn't there. Wasn't a priority.
Wasn't
it Steve Stricker that was the captain last time when we won?
Yeah, I think he might have been. Yep. Okay. I think he might have been. Wisconsin.
Yep.
Good Wisconsin connection.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Johnson, all-time nice guy, and you could tell he was out there to make friends. I don't think there was much. I think after that first day, they needed a little tough love, and he came out and just said, "I'm really proud of what these guys did today." It's like you can't say that. Every single one of these guys lost. None of them won a match. You can't just be like, "I'm really proud of you guys."
Yep.
I know that's a Midwestern nice thing, but in this setting, I mean, you got to get out there and find a way to motivate your guys because that was tough to watch. But let's get into a little bit of so we can let Mark get into
dinner.
Get into dinner there, but let's Mark. We'll start with you. Did you have a guy that really stuck out to you from either team that you're like, that's our best performer of the week on either side?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, best performer of the week. Oh, I was going negative on it. Let's see, best performer. Boy, I think Hovland did a lot to set the tone.
Yep.
And he played well. Rom, actually though, if you go back, I think the Daggers Rom emotionally and everything, and even though and he came back and tied that last match against Scheffler, on the 18th hole, and almost made it for Eagle. That guy just when he bears down, gets his Spanish blood boiling, kind of like Sevy used to. He's tough to beat. So I got to go with Rom, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. You said you were going negative on it. You got a worst performer of the week, or you got one of those loaded up?
Well, I'm taking it, Scheffler.
Yep.
You don't bring that baggage, that clutter into the team room. Their argument about money.
Are you talking?
You're talking Schauffele.
His record was poor. I don't know if he won a point or not.
You're talking Xander, right?
Schauffele.
Yeah. What did I say?
Scheffler. I was like, man.
I'm sorry. No, Schauffele.
Yeah.
Schauffele. Yep. Xander Schauffele.
I would agree.
Yeah, not impressed. Not impressed. And then, but a close second's Cantlay, in my opinion. That hat kerfuffle, not wearing the hat and because it didn't fit. I'm not buying that. It was over money. And then to have his caddy taunt Rory on Saturday night, that was just not cool. It's unprofessional. It was just on many levels not what we wanted out of our guys.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm sorry, LJ. I was just going to say, if there's any momentum, and there was slight momentum that U.S. was finally gaining there Saturday afternoon, going into Sunday where it's singles matches, that and Rory said it the next day, fired him up. Lit a fire in him.
I think they call it HatGate is what it was.
Yeah.
And so Mark, you shared a video with us because you were right there, and the European fans had taken off their hats and started waving that. What was your experience on the ground? Was that like an every hole kind of deal? Was that, because I feel like, and it's Joe LaCava is Cantlay's caddy who caddied for Tiger Woods.
Yep.
And I saw a lot of stuff where something must have been going on all day where it just sent him over the edge because that's not like him. What was your experience on the ground with this so-called HatGate for Cantlay?
Yeah, they were getting heckled pretty hard every hole, even every part of the hole. So it wasn't just at the tee or at the green; it was the entirety of the hole. The Euros would they had a chant that I think we've got some video of, and in their accent, they were not calling him a very nice name. I don't know if the video has that you can make that out of. I just sent maybe the last part of that. It was pretty ruthless. They were pretty ruthless, and they thought they were being funny, but it was tough. And so I get kind of that reaction on 18, but you can't do that. This week is all about not giving anybody any bulletin board material, period. And to have a caddy do that, get kind of, and you watch that video, he circles back. If he would have just ended like the other caddy, our caddy did the same thing, took his hat up, waved it around a little while, and then went back to the fringe. But Joe, when he circled back right up next to Rory again, I mean, that's just terrible.
It did look tough.
Yes,
yeah.
They were chanting and singing a song, taking their hats off and waving them, and then to have the other U.S. players, I think like some of them didn't wear their hat
JT.
on Sunday.
Yep.
In support of Cantlay, it's like, all right, guys, wow, it's just.
I don't think that wasn't a money deal there. I honestly, I don't believe the HatGate was in response to the money. I don't think that was. I think Xander was more concerned with money than Cantlay was. I honestly think that the hat just didn't fit. I am in that camp. I believe him when he says that. He didn't wear it at the last Ryder Cup as well, and it's the same manufacturer that makes the hats. Different manufacturer makes the President's Cup hats where he does wear a hat. I think that it just didn't fit, and I think the U.S. was looking for their own rallying cry in that they're going to take this HatGate. It's a nothing burger anyway, and we're going to use this as our own. And I will say the hatless tip of the hat might be one of the all-time greatest celebrations I think I've seen. I think Justin Thomas did it. Patrick Cantlay did it. But it looks significantly worse when you're down that many points.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm. At least it did give him a little spark. I mean, JT was strutting around pretty good when he came through the 8th hole with us, and it did give him a little spark. I would say, I agree with that hat. Zach Johnson did a press conference. It looked like his head was way larger than his body. The hat didn't fit him very well. So maybe there is something to that.
I don't think we'll call it what it is. Maybe Patrick Cantlay's got a really weird shaped head. Everybody's got a different little deal. But you kind of touched on it, Mark, with Justin Thomas, and we'll kind of go through here, Chuck and I, as far as our highlights. I don't necessarily think JT was a top performer of it, but I definitely proved people wrong as to whether or not he should be there.
Yep.
I don't think he performed as well, but there again, I'm going to put more of that on on Jordan Spieth.
Jordan let him down in the partner play.
I mean, Jordan hopped on JT's back, and I don't think that's what JT needed for the week.
Yep.
And I would say I'll go the opposite. I'm going to go my bottom performers, and I'm going to put it either on Scheffler or Spieth. They're kind of tied. They both had the 2-2 record.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Spieth, we relied on so heavily because he had to carry Justin Thomas, and I just don't think Spieth lived up to that.
Yep.
I will say I did call it in the sense that Jordan Spieth put that golf ball places on that golf course that I don't think I've seen golf balls before.
Brutal.
And
yep.
I think we all kind of knew that coming in, but we were hoping for a little more. And Scheffler being the number one player in the world, and just getting lapped out there. He just did not have his game with him. And when you're looking for a guy that's supposed to be leading your team, you look at the equivalent on the European side, I'd call it John Rahm.
Yep.
And what he was able to bring to his team versus what our number one guy was supposed to bring to our team just wasn't there.
That's fair.
Let down. There. As far as top performers, I mean, how do you not talk about Max Homa in his Ryder Cup debut? Yep. Just absolutely owning his matches.
Yep.
I mean, he lost once, or he lost his, he lost once in foursomes.
He lost, Friday morning.
But there again, that's everybody lost Friday morning.
Right.
So
for who was his partner that match?
Brian Harman.
Okay.
It was him and Brian Harman. Yep. And I'm high on Brian Harman now too.
Me too.
I'm not going to say he was a perfect pick there, but at least a good partner. Yep, for Max Homa.
Yep.
And then I was really impressed with Ludwig Oberg on the European side. The dude mashes the golf ball. He's got an awesome swing, and he responded when he needed to. He came in 4-ball, and I know they lost that match, but their best ball match, when he needed to step up, he put pressure on the U.S., and he went like eagle birdie or something like that to try and put pressure. They were down big, but for a rookie to come in there and do that, this kid is going to go places on the PGA Tour. I'm calling it right now. That kid can absolutely play golf. And then between Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland, it is what it is.
How many are you picking?
Well, I'm just saying, Rory McIlroy is going to be my top because how do you not, right? You saw it after Wisconsin, right? Was that whistling?
Mm-hmm.
Just the sheer emotion. You can almost call it from a mile away coming into this one that he was going to be that guy. He was going to lead. And then like Mark, like you alluded to, after that Saturday kerfuffle on the 18th green, I think he definitely had a fire lit under him for Sunday. I don't think anybody was touching him there. And then even on, he destroyed just about everyone that he came. He didn't lose. Oh yeah, he did lose one.
Last one. Lose one. Well, I'll go quick. I'll say Rory, and it's you think of not only the emotion of what he showed 2 years ago in losing, but he's a guy that he was on his home turf for the British Open a few years ago and missed the cut.
Yeah.
So historically, under pressure, he hasn't played the best. He turned that around this weekend, and he showed why he's one of the best players in the world. And I think he led, to your point, we needed a Scotty Chef to be a leader on the course. He didn't. Rory did that. So I would pick him. Although Victor Hovland, how do you argue? I think, as I said earlier, I think he's the best player in the world right now. That guy's phenomenal.
Yes.
And he's fun to watch. On our team, I would go Max. Just watching him, and I just love the follow him on Twitter and just the emotion and what it meant to him.
Yeah.
Like that final putt to make that putt and his leg indicating how bad his legs were shaking.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about. And he performed 3-1-1. That's really good when you look at how well or how bad we got pumped. As far as who let us down, I'm in the Jordan Spieth. Just watching the matches.
Yeah.
And he's with JT. It would have been easy to see JT struggle the way he did, but JT was playing well, and he just didn't have a partner.
He did. Jordan left him hanging more times than not.
Yep. So
especially
that's my pick for
letting
letting down at Jordan. He just didn't have it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's it was a letdown of a Ryder Cup, but still, to me as a golf fan, really, really fun to watch. And Mark, I know we got to let you go here. So, any final thoughts on Ryder Cup?
Yeah, well, it's Sunday, so being there and watching the red up on the board, and you're thinking, if things in the final 3 matches go all red,
yeah,
their Euros are only at 14 points. We could steal this thing.
Right.
So out on the golf course, I don't know what it was like on TV, but watching this, we're like, God, there's a chance. There's a real chance.
Yeah. Well,
and when Ricky Fowler gives that putt for the win, it was kind of all over. I don't know if it was 2.5 feet or whatever it was, but you don't give a guy a putt to win the Ryder Cup.
Not to win the Ryder Cup.
Was the pivotal match or not? That just kind of encapsulated our effort level, in my opinion, those 3 days. Is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Have you no sense of what this means?
Yep. I agree. Make them putt it to win. Absolutely. So, well, guys, that's a great recap. And Chuck, you and I can just wrap up here because we know, Mark, you got a big taco dinner waiting for you. So we'll let you go. Thanks for calling in from halfway across the world, and safe travels back.
Fun.
And keep having
Be safe.
fun. It sounds like a great time.
All right. Au revoir.
Sure. Yep.
True.
Oui. Okay.
All right. See ya.
Left. Okay. Bye.
See ya. Well, that was Mark
Johnson.
I don't know. I'd like to keep this podcast English.
Right. Jeez, did we just become R-rated?
It's got to be French.
Okay.
Au revoir.
He might have made up something. But anyway,
who knows? No, I mean, that's, he was, and I'll call him out here. And I do want to apologize to my mother because that was, he thought it was going to be a little shorter segment he was on.
Yeah.
And I guess
He's
everyone's
probably in the doghouse now.
Everyone's a little grumpy. They made him wait for dinner. So,
oh, no.
They're going to, hopefully their tacos are good.
Well, they have wine. They could sit and sip some wine while they wait. For crying out loud. I don't feel too bad, LJ. We're sitting here working, and they're over there abroad in France.
How about this? We got to make sure that they all listen to it over in France.
Yeah.
And then we're an international podcast.
I like that.
International.
Wow, that's next level.
Aha. Which, by the way, voting is still open for best of.
October 8th, I want to say, is the last day.
Is that right? So
it's coming up. So if you haven't, and you enjoy this, we'd love the support. Get out there. Inform.com.
Get out and vote.
Yep.
We're pleased to be top 5, but man, we'd love to hang that on our mantle right here.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Right here, Chuck.
Right there.
Best of.
Yep. Love it.
Anyway,
would be honored.
Just final closing thoughts here as we're kind of getting to it. As far as the Ryder Cup, I mean, between coaching decisions and we didn't even get into Ricky's final giving the putt.
No, we didn't.
I mean, that was all of 3 feet.
I know.
I don't know what he was saying, 2.5 feet. That was all of 3 feet.
Yeah, it was 3. It was a strong 3.
And it is what it is. Ricky hit it into the water on his last hole. I mean, I was following along. I was playing my own golf tournament and following along without watching it. And then I was like, hey, I just made the turn. And I was like, you know what? We got a chance. There's a lot of red on the board down the line.
I know.
And then for whatever reason, next time I checked, I went to Ricky's, and sure enough, it was right after he hit it in the water. It was like,
and then Tommy hits the shot of the turning just drives it onto the green.
Exactly what they needed.
Yep, unbelievable. So that's what's fun about this sport, right? It's some days you got it, some days you don't, and it was so fun to watch as a U.S. fan. Disappointing, of course, but just to watch them battle, most of them battle.
Yep.
That was fun. And it's exciting for, U.S. turf in 2 years.
Yeah, and it is, I think, one of the best tournaments to watch on TV just because of the hype, you know. And then you always want to be there. And from our experience in 2016, it was equally as fun being there. I don't think I could do the whole tournament there.
Agreed.
I like what we did when we went Friday, Saturday. You watch Sunday on TV.
Yep. That was great.
I think that's
the way to do it.
That's
our recommendation.
2029, we're back at Hazeltine.
Is it really?
Yep.
Come on.
Dead serious.
Wow. Okay. I like the sound of this.
From the Ryder Cup 2029.
Yes.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not us?
Very cool.
No, yeah, it's such a fun event, and it's a really good kind of break from the stuffy golf, we'll call it.
Yep.
You got guys, the passion there, and it's just funny to watch the shots that go in during this match play setting. Yeah. You're like, if this is a stroke play event, there's just no way that ball's going in.
Right.
Like Victor Hovland's chip on number 1.
Unbelievable.
The first shot first hole on the first tournament. And it's like, there's just no way that ball goes in if this isn't match play.
And Friday, it seemed like anything on the green Europe did
went in.
Anything. And as a spectator just watching, you're like, this is probably going to,
went in. Of course it goes in. Why wouldn't it go in? Well, then you got John Rahm chipping in 3 times, and it just seemed like everything was back in Europe, and it is what it is. But it is still fun to watch. I think it's still proud to be an American. That is an all-time great event. Like we said, it's one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and for good reason. And I cannot wait to see what happens. And New York fans might be a little interesting.
Could be.
Based on this.
Yeah, the latest.
The Italian fans.
Agreed. Could be a little payback. We'll see. Any other final thoughts there, Chuck? Nope. I think you just touched on it. Get out and vote if you haven't. And then, of course, being here at Sweet Shots, we super excited. The weather's going to be changing, but our climate-controlled bays open year-round. So people get out here and use them, and let's have some fun.
Let's have a lot of fun. We've got our open league starts here in 2 weeks. October 16th.
That's right.
Is our first night. So if you haven't already, find you and a partner. Go sign up for that on our website, sweetshots.com, under golf leagues. We've got a great setup. We've got Boston Beer Company is sponsoring. So we've got
sponsor.
Great prizes.
And they can play Monday or Wednesday,
Monday or Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Yep.
And then we just set up a deal with Mizuno, too. So we've got a couple wedges to give away for our winners. And then we've got, we're going to be spicing up the putting contest a little bit.
Ooh.
A little season-long points total or stroke total for a free putter.
Love it.
So thanks to Mizuno for doing that. So
excellent.
A little extra incentive to get out and play. But again, if you haven't already, find a partner, and we're going to keep the golf season going as long as we can.
Absolutely.
Because why not?
Yep. Let's get better today.
Let's get better today. Especially the American team. And anyway,
wow,
that's going to be our Ryder Cup recap. And the Sweet Shots podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.